Horror Coast to Coast is a movie review podcast featuring strong language, horror film spoilers, and discussions of violence, gore, and disturbing subject matter. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome to Horror Coast to Coast, where we review horror movies from opposite sides of the continental U.S. From a doorstep of a Massachusetts house I've yet to be invited inside of, I'm Brian.
And from a 1930s jukebox under siege in California and wondering why I can't have the pickled garlic, I'm Michelle.
This week we're reviewing Sinners from 2025, written and directed by Ryan Coogler.
Ryan Coogler, who is known for Black Panther and Creed, Fruitvale Station, very, very closely acquainted with Michael B. Jordan and all things Oakland, being an Oakland native. But Sinners, trying to leave their troubled lives behind, twin brothers return to their Mississippi hometown to start again, only to discover that an even greater evil is waiting to welcome them back.
All right, nice and vague.
Really vague. I wasn't sure if the troubled past had anything to do with the evil waiting for them. So I was trying the whole time to connect what was something that they maybe had done in the past to bring what had happened to them. Also, I'll just say right now, I did not know what this was about going into it. I had no idea. Did you know?
So I found out it was about vampires like a month or so ago. And before that, I knew absolutely nothing other than it's got Michael B. Jordan in it. So I didn't know that there were two Michael B. Jordans until I saw them both on screen. I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
I didn't read the description. I didn't know it was about brothers. I didn't know it was about twins. I didn't know there would be more than one Michael B. Jordan in this movie.
Yeah. So I knew about the twin part for some reason. Maybe someone told me that, but they did not tell me that it was vampires. So I didn't know it was vampires. And so after reading that, I was like, what is this evil? I couldn't figure it out. And I was like, is the evil music? Is the evil dancing? Is it temptation? Like, what is it? I was trying to be very, I guess, spiritual about it to figure out what the evil was. Was it a metaphorical evil? No, it's fucking evil. It's vampires. So yeah, let's start from the beginning.
Takes place in the 1930s, which I also didn't know that it would be like a period piece, because I basically only knew like the poster, and it's like Michael B. Jordan with a gun and a wife beater. So that could be like literally any time since the invention of handguns.
Yeah. I thought it was like maybe a Western or something, but
Yeah. We start off, we got Smoke and Stack, both played by Michael B. Jordan. They're coming home to Mississippi from Chicago, and they meet up with their little cousin Sammy. And Sammy is a Robert Johnson-inspired up-and-coming blues musician character.
right. And we have a bit of a cold opening, right? Because we have the bloodied man
Yes.
walks into this small country church service. And right away, I got like American folk horror story feels.
Yeah.
I think in hindsight, we'll connect it later on, but that opening is a very True Blood type vibe. Although when I saw it, I didn't know the movie was about vampires, so I didn't go with that thought immediately. But later on, I was like, oh, with that like Southern Gothic feel, it takes me back to True Blood. Yeah, so before we get to the twins, we have him walking in, and we don't know that it's Sammy until the pastor comes up and says, Sammy, do you renounce your sins in the house of the Lord or something like that?
Yeah, and before that, we got a little intro talking about, like, every once in a while, there's a legendary musician who can basically commune with the spirits past and future. So we're kind of led right into Sammy. He bursts in with the neck of a guitar. He's covered in blood. He's got a big scar on his face. And everyone in the church just seems to be underreacting, even his father. They're just like, Sammy, come up here.
The mother jumps up when she sees him. And then the father is like, no, can't hang on. I don't know what they were expecting. Even after knowing what happened in the movie, I don't know what the reason for their reaction was. I mean, because everyone is kind of their jaw is dropped, but they don't seem to be freaking out or anything. I mean, he's covered in blood, he's injured.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, he's weirdly not making a scene by bursting into the church, scarred and covered in blood.
And I will say that one of the things that opening did was it kind of had these flickers of the carnage that we see later in the movie at the beginning. And it was so fast. I rewound it and paused it to see what it was. And I couldn't tell. All I saw was like bloodied people. And I think that kind of creeped me out a little bit, just seeing these flashes and almost not knowing, did Sammy do this? Is he the remaining survivor because he killed everybody? Again, this is me not knowing that the movie's about vampires yet. So I'm trying to think, is he about to walk into this church and just like kill all of these people? Is he going to smash the leftover guitar in all their faces or something? So the beginning was extremely ominous to me.
Yeah, I mean, even knowing that it was about vampires, I have like no idea what's going on in the scene. Like, I didn't guess like where those scars had came from or why he was covered in blood. I'm like, this could be pretty much anything. Yeah, it was definitely a compelling opening scene. And his dad basically tells him to like get away from the devil's blues music and come back to the fold. And also, everyone treats this neck of a guitar like it's a guitar. They're like, "Put down the guitar." I'm like, "It's not really a guitar anymore. It's a piece of a guitar."
Yeah.
Everyone just acts like he's holding a whole ass guitar.
Yeah. I mean, it's the symbol though, right? And
Yeah.
it's there actually is a part in Frankenhooker. Oh, it's when he's in the hotel room with the hookers and they find his super drug stash. They start doing it all and he's like, "No, don't do it." And they turn on the radio or something and he's like, "It's the devil's music." It was like so dumb, but that was what I just assumed was going on here, that they assume like it's the devil's music. And so the guitar, which is so connected to it, is their association with it. It must be that. That's the thing that's kind of conjuring whatever tragedy has befallen him. And it's because of the devil's music. And so you're right. It's not a full guitar. It's a remnant of it, but it's still kind of a symbol. And they're like, distance yourself from this because that's how you get rid of the evil. I can't say I understand their reasoning and I can't say I understand the fear or what it is they're concerned about really, but I get where it was kind of forming with that.
Yeah. All right. So, Smoke and Stack, they just bought a sawmill and they're gonna open up a juke joint. And so they're gonna get Sammy to play it.
Right. They come back to town and they have this brilliant idea to make money. But I mean, I think it is to make money for one of the brothers. And let me just tell you that I couldn't keep them apart until the end.
Yeah.
And now in my mind, the only reason I know the difference between them is because Annie says, "Put down the smoke," and then calls him by his name. So now in my mind, I think that's Smoke. That's the only way now I know who's who. So going back, I can say Stack is more concerned with the money-making aspect. Smoke is more concerned with providing a place for people of the community to come and enjoy themselves after like a hard day's labor and stuff. So you get the sense that there's a little bit of tension
Yeah.
between the goal and the purpose of doing this, but they have a shared dream of starting this business together, starting this venture together. And so the first like maybe like half hour of the movie, maybe a little bit longer than that, they spend their time going around and getting all of the necessary people to help them put together what they need. You know, they need food, they need drinks, they need musicians, they need all kinds, they need a bodyguard.
Yeah.
So they spend all this time gathering these people.
Yes, that's basically the first hour of the
Is
movie,
it really?
basically. We're just one by one introduced to all these characters that'll be in the second half. So they recruit them. There's Delta Slim is another blues musician who they're getting for the bar, and he's like a crazy
Who's
alcoholic.
played by Delroy Lindo,
Yeah.
who I haven't seen in a hot minute, and also who is an Oakland native. Didn't know that.
Wow. And for suppliers, they recruit a Chinese couple of shopkeepers, Grace and Bo Chow. And then they recruit a field worker named Cornbread for the bouncer. And then we meet Smoke's wife, Annie, who is a cook. And she's also like a practitioner of hoodoo. So
Right.
when we get this scene, when Smoke goes to like recruit her, did you notice that this house seems like way bigger on the inside? Because we get like an establishing shot of it and it's tiny.
You know something? That didn't occur to me, but now that you say that, you're right, because Stack is outside.
And she's like the magic
Yeah,
character.
Stack is outside and he's leaning over what we later learned to be a grave of a child that they shared. And it pans over to her standing on the porch, and that house is tiny. You're absolutely right. And then he goes in with her and it's much bigger. That's crazy.
Yeah, I feel like that was deliberate because it looked like it was such a stark difference because that thing was huge on the
Yeah.
inside. And then after that, we're introduced to Stack's ex-girlfriend, Mary.
Who really doesn't have any function here except she is the white passing character. And that's it.
Yeah, I think they don't even recruit her. She just shows up after like she spots
Yeah,
Stack.
because her storyline is that she has been pining for him after he suddenly left town and waiting. But then there's some mention that he may have intentionally left her and apparently set her up with like a rich white husband. So it's unclear whether she is actually married and is still chasing after Stack, or if she never pursued that life and has been waiting for him and is now come back to tag along with him, I guess, because she's not invited.
Well, there's a line later where he says you're someone else's. So I think she
She did
did
get
like
married.
go
Okay.
off and
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
But this part really confused me because she spots a Michael B. Jordan and she's like, is that Smoke? And then he turns around and like he basically sends Sammy away. But then she says, or is that Stack? And she's actually looking for Stack. So I was so confused about which one she was actually involved with
Oh, yeah.
because of she actually asked for Smoke first,
'Cause
or is that
I
Smoke?
think it's like a yeah, I think it's like a she's joking around, like, "Which one is it? I can't tell you apart, haha." But also, I haven't seen any of you in so long that I no longer recognize you. Thanks for running out on me, asshole.
Yeah.
Like, that was the vibe I got from her. It was just, like, attitude from the get-go. But I do remember that one of the storylines that is added for her is that apparently her mother has recently died, and her mother is somebody who was a caretaker to, at the very least, the twins when they were
Oh
kids.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know what the I don't know what the connection between her family and them and the twins were, because they also have the backstory of their father was abusive, and I don't know if their mom was ever mentioned, but Mary's mother took care of them in some way when they were young. But that's all to her character at this point.
Yeah.
So we're introduced to her, but then she kind of is in the back of our minds for a second. So then what happens?
So we just see a guy hit the ground running and just smoke is coming off of him.
And that's when I was like, "Oh shit."
And he just like knocks at this door and this couple answers and he sees there's a KKK robe in the background. He plays up his racism. He's like, these Choctaw, they tried to rob me and they're after me. You gotta
Yeah.
help me.
Really, hard not to say they're always after me, Lucky Charms, but that's basically how it comes off.
Yeah, that is basically what's going on here.
And then the vampire goes between being, like, Southern and being, like, Irish, and I assume he's Irish faking a Southern accent to fit in with, like, the area.
I believe so. Because later he pays with some gold. He says it's from another place in another time. And his Irish accent keeps
Slipping
slipping
in.
out. So yeah, I think he's probably been in the South for a while. So he's gotten good at it. But like he's definitely not from around here. He's probably like hundreds of years old.
Right. And then after he shows up, this crew of Native Americans on horseback come to the house and they knock on the door.
Yeah,
They're all
all dressed like Van Helsing.
yeah, they're decked out. They have weapons.
Which it's pretty cool seeing indigenous Van
Yeah.
Helsing.
Yeah. And the woman answers the door and she's like, "I don't know what to talk about." And he's like, "Okay, but watch out because if you've seen anyone around here, he's probably very dangerous and we've been looking for him for a long time." Now, immediately in the scene, yes, Native American Van Helsing comes to mind. He's got the hat on, he's got this very like serious demeanor, and he's very commanding. But then they don't come back.
Yeah.
And so then I'm like, "Well, did they just give up on him? What what is this supposed to be? I was just curious about that because I actually a lot of what kept me from writing down everything in this movie is because it would have been pages and pages long because I kept thinking everything means something. And this is going to take so much like analytical brain power to actually keep it down, way more than we can fit into an episode here. And I couldn't figure out what this part meant. Clearly, the movie is an allegory of race relations. So, is the Native American presence just like a nod to land ownership and displacement and things like that? Is that really what that was about? Because I get it. It makes sense why going forward there wouldn't be a very pronounced Native American presence. But it's not like the vampires ran them off their land. They seem to be pretty autonomous. They seem to be like, we tried, but, good luck to you. See you later.
Yeah.
So I guess I was trying to figure out exactly what that was supposed to be. If it's just a nod to like historical events, then I get it. But I thought that was interesting. And
Well, I feel like the only people in this movie who know what vampires are seem to be the Native Americans and the hoodoo practitioner. So it's like only these other cultures have any reference point for what's going on. So I feel like there's something to
right.
that.
Okay.
But I also feel like they didn't do more because they don't really want to like antagonize the clan.
Right.
No, they're like, we were gonna take care of them, but like it's no trouble. You can keep
I
him.
see. So when she opens the door, the Choctaw leader comes and sees the hood as well.
Yeah, because we see like very clearly, like they spend so long
Yeah.
just like showing us that it's clearly in shot.
Okay.
It's like, yeah, everyone who comes to their door sees
Okay,
their
that makes
clan.
sense. I didn't even think about the fact that they would have stepped away because they saw the hood and they were like, "Oh, your problem now," because that makes a lot of sense. But okay,
Yeah.
so we got the scene, and then this is where the vampire reveal happens. And if you're me, you're like, "Oh shit," because the vampire comes in, kills the husband, and the wife walks in and is like, "Hey, how's it going? What's happening? I just sent these fools away." And she's, approached by the bloodied vampire and her dead husband on the floor. Her husband then comes back to life. And that's what we get of that. And I'm like, oh fuck, it's vampires. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Also, my heart was pounding at that scene, by
At
the
the
way. I don't know
reveal
why.
part?
Yes. Because I didn't expect it. And I don't know.
Yeah.
He falls to the ground and he's like smoking. I don't know why it didn't occur to me. But yeah, I was like, oh my gosh. Because he's like in the dark and his eyes are red. And so maybe that was part of it. And I was like, well, that's kind of scary.
I know it's like obligatory that I reference it every time we talk about vampires, but the smoking really reminded me of Buffy. How like, you can be in the sun, you just gotta
Yeah.
get out of there quick or you're gonna smoke a lot and then you'll burst into flames.
Oh, a lot of this, I think, was harkening back to traditional vampire lore.
Yeah.
I think the only thing that maybe was a little more modern was the fact that when they stabbed them in the chest, they just kind of died. They didn't like explode. There wasn't anything special that happened. They just died.
Yeah. I do like that he's like he's basically landing from flying the first time we see him. And then
Yes.
later we will get
Yeah.
the reveal that he flies. So like you can't like you don't actually see him landing, but like the way his momentum is going forward, you can tell that he just landed from flight.
Yeah.
And I also like that this comes out of nowhere and he literally just came out of nowhere.
And I couldn't understand where he came from.
Yeah, it's like Ryan didn't know, like, how do I introduce the vampires? I don't know. I guess they'll just come out of nowhere.
Yeah. That's crazy.
And then they get the bar going, and there's a bunch of like really good musical numbers.
Unbelievable. Yeah, the scene with the music going through time was unreal. It was unreal.
Yeah, so that part in the beginning, so what she said about the spirits of the past and future like comes into fruition when Sammy's playing and basically like George Clinton shows up and starts playing funk on electric guitar next to him and then like a DJ shows up and yeah, it
Yeah,
just like transcends time. And I did not expect that at all.
I didn't expect that at all. There's all these like ethereal spirits that are clearly being conjured through his voice and his playing and presenting themselves as echoes through time, but also like this is the natural progression of our music and this is how important the ability to convey, you know, your experiences through music. This is how important it is, and this is how it connects everybody. It was just it was fucking magical. I was like, "This is so cool." And they mixed all of the instruments so that it sounded like one coherent song, but, like, you could still hear it was a transitory in nature. So, I was, like, fucking floored when I saw that scene.
Yeah, and I guess either is in the process of coming out or they're going to come out with like an album of this movie.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's so funny. Okay, so after this scene happens, we get to the juke joint and we are introduced to the beginnings of their night and how even immediately Smoke and Stack are kind of butting heads on the goal of this venture because there's some people who come and they want to pay with plantation coin, which is like an alternate currency that isn't equivalent to the dollar. Um and Stack is like, "No, real money," and Smoke is like, "Just let him have a good time." And you already see that there's a little bit of that tension, and that becomes a vehicle for what happens next in the movie, which I thought was
So,
brilliant.
and I was kind of confused. We basically get like kind of an exposition dump with both Smoke and Stack giving separate exposition dumps at the same time. I think Smoke's talking to
Oh
Annie and Stack's talking to Sammy.
oh, about their lives, like how they grew up and stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think Smoke's explaining about how they're basically underwater because of the company's script. And then Stack is talking to Sammy, and Sammy's like, I want to go off on my own. And Stack's basically like, fuck that, and pulls a gun on him.
Yeah. But I mean, you can tell that I almost wish that didn't happen. I really hated that because I thought it was very heavy-handed. The goal there is obviously to say that Stack will go out of his way and do everything that he can to keep his family safe. He will do everything, even if it means harming them in some way, as long as they are ultimately safe. And he says, "My father was an awful person who beat us and whatever. And when we tried to go to a neighboring town that was essentially a thriving Black community, our reputation preceded us there, and they never accepted us. But your father is a reverend, and what you should do is if you will really want to start over, because Sammy's whole complaint is that he wants to start over. He wants to go somewhere, and Chicago feels like that brand new place. It's like, the bright-eyed, like, co-ed who wants to go to New York and make something of herself. He has this dream, and Stack is like, "Look, Chicago will eat you alive. Go to this place where they will comfort you and nurture you, and they will accept you because your father is a pastor. You don't have a reputation that's going to hinder your success." And he's like, "But you're forgetting, you're my cousin, and your dad was my dad's brother. So it's very possible that my reputation is tarnished as well. So I'm gonna go to Chicago." And he's like, "Fuck no, you aren't."
Yeah. And then at the door arrives the three vampires.
Oh my God. So that vampire song, I'm getting ahead of myself because they're like, "Let me in, let me in." Of course, you're like, "Don't fucking let them in."
Yeah.
And they're like, "Isn't this a juke joint? We came to sing." And you're like, "Yeah, fuck no, you didn't." And it's right after we get that like glorious, beautiful number. Then we get the the goofiest, stupidest
Oh,
stupidest
it's so
song.
good though. It's very like Soggy Bottom Boys.
Right, but the first version was silly because they were like, "We're friendly, let us in." It
Oh
gets
my god, he's
better.
so creepy though.
Yeah, the song, like, evolves over the course of the movie because we do hear other iterations of it, and it gets more sinister, but it gets more depth to it. And when they sing it, it's just like this tinny banjo-y, like from Constant Sorrow. Do you ever see, Oh Brother Where Art Thou? That's what it reminded me of.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Is
Soggy
that
Bottom
the
Boys.
Oh, I don't remember the name of the group, but that's what it reminded me of.
But it's also really good. Like they're super good, and that's because the vampires have a hive mind. So
Oh,
these
yes.
these clan couple probably couldn't play an instrument to save them lives an hour ago, but
Right.
now they're being puppeted by a vampire Remick. So they
Right.
all play together and they're in perfect tune instantly. I thought that was really interesting because we haven't really had the hive mind reveal yet, but when you think of that in hindsight, it's like, oh, that's why they are instantly able to do a number.
That's amazing, actually. I didn't think of that. You're right. And so I'm not saying the quality of their musicianship was bad. I thought they were very good musicians. In fact, the characters comment on that too. And they're like, them crackers can sang,
Yeah.
right? I'm pretty sure one of them actually says that. But
Yeah, I think so.
the song itself was silly. And the lyrics. We picked poor Robin's bones clean. Like, aren't you listening to what they're saying? They're talking about eating someone. And they say it over and over and over again, and you're like, "I can't tell if they're just rubbing it in or if this is some weird old folk song that I just don't know." That's really what I was wondering at this point. I'm like, "Are they making fun of them a little bit?" But their song was crazy. Imagine being a vampire and running up to people and being like, "Let us in. We'll sing you a song about eating people." That's a fucking like, mic drop if I ever heard. You're gonna let us in, right? We picked his bones clean. What do you think we'll do to you? It was wild.
Yeah, they send him away
Send him away. Oh, but one of the things they say is, "We just wanna come in and have a good time
and
with
spend a
you
little
and
money.
spend our money," and
Yeah.
that's the hook.
Yeah, so Mary convinces, like, Smoke and Stack that she can go, work her magic on them and get them some money since they need it so desperately.
Yeah. I saw this coming from a mile away when she says, "I can go out there because they'll talk to me and I can find out how much money they have." This was the
Yeah.
most triggering 10 minutes of the movie for me for very obvious reasons. It's the most like scathing commentary on the history of white passing people. The message is you can't trust white people in any form. It's clearly an allegory to how the white community are vampires literally living off the blood of the black community, right? But then this scene with Mary trying to play this game where she's white adjacent and so can mingle and get information while simultaneously working for the twins' best interest. It frames passing white as this like harmful historical practice, right? But at the same time, I think I had issues with the fact that she's basically vilified for being white passing, which is like a very common concept. But the one thing the reason that I was triggered is because there's a long history of white passing people being essentially just used by the white community as access points for black community. But it's access points to like commit harm to black communities. It's access points to take advantage and to, you know, continue to do all of the atrocities that the white community inflicts on the black community over like hundreds of years. It just feels very much like the historical reality is that white passing people, yes, have a history of taking advantage of that for their benefit, but at the same time, they are also taken advantage of. And this kind of frames it as she thinks she's doing them a favor, but it backfires. Maybe because she's naive. Maybe that's part of it. But it felt like it was a little bit of a scathing indictment. And so I was like, God damn, like there's a history behind that idea too. And this sort of like oversimplified it, which is not to say that I'm like, having white skin and being mistaken for white essentially means, you have nothing to complain about, right? That's the theme. But it just feels like there's things not said that could give a little bit more context to what's trying to be said here. But I don't know if they could have accomplished that with a movie like this. I just saw it coming a mile away when she says, I'm going out there. And I'm like, yeah, because they're going to turn you. And guess what? They know that your family are going to invite you back in because they trust you, even though you look like us.
Yeah, it was definitely obvious that, her going out there was gonna end up this way.
Yeah, because you already know, like, when Annie says, they're like, "How come she's allowed?" And Annie says right away, "Oh, she's family." And that doesn't stop her from saying, "But I can still try to, butter them up." Especially since they know I'm aligned with this community. They know I'm connected to this community. but they'll still listen to me because they see what I look like. Like, that's just kind of a fucked up idea, I think. Like, I'm not really even fooling them. I'm honestly just catering to the fact that they like how I look.
Yeah.
I don't know. But anyway.
All right, so they send her back with some gold,
Oh, the fancy
and
Irish gold, yeah.
yeah, so at the door is Cornbread the bouncer. He's like, "What the hell are you doing out there?" She's like, "Are you just gonna block the door? Or are you gonna let me in?" So he basically just like, "Oh, well, go in." And so now there's a vampire in the bar.
Yeah.
Oh, and in the previous scene, we saw like right before she was turned that Remick was drooling because this
Oh,
is some kind of lore in this movie,
yeah.
which I don't really understand.
So
Vampires drool in this
it
universe.
happens a couple of times, and I thought
Yeah.
at first it was how they turned people. This is disgusting, by the way, because they were, like, spitting in people's mouths, but I thought, like, that's how they turned
Yeah.
them, and then it ended up not being anything. It was gross.
Yeah, so she seduces Stack and they go off into a bedroom and they're about to get down and she's drooling. He's like, "You drooling?" She's like, "You want some?"
It was really gross, really
It
gross.
was so fucking gross. I could handle like any kind of gore, but that's too far.
And I wrote this scene. This is exactly the scene. It shows how white passing or mixed race people were used as a buffer class by whites to establish control within a predominantly black community. And that's exactly what happens here. She is used to establish control. She goes in, and the very first person she turns is arguably the person who is in control of the place, who is the most hyper masculine in the place that she had access to, right? But yeah, it was a lot of things commented in this scene. Although I will say, as a side, I really hate the femme fatale trope. This is kind of a random thought, but I thought of it when she came in, and you're like, oh yeah, she's being cast here as this like femme fatale who's coming in to like bring his demise about. I really hate that expression, and I hate the ideology behind it because it absolves men of their responsibility in sexual encounters with a woman who has checked certain boxes. So if she's like curvy enough and busty and this and that, then you don't have to be responsible for your choices. You had no control over what you were doing. And, and so that's like a side here. I don't think it was really all that important or overplayed. Um, but
Yeah,
I
I
wanted to
feel
say
like
that.
though in vampires, that's also just kind of part of it, regardless of gender, is that they're
I
all
do
like aggressively seducing everyone. So
I do agree. There is vampire allure. That is something that's supposed to be like otherworldly and supernatural that was at play here. But ugh, the seduction scene was so nasty.
yeah, just that spit part was so gross, man.
Yeah, and I have to say, our movie friends might be mad at me for saying this, but somebody wrote down Haley Steinfeld and Michael B. Jordan hot, and I was like, which part? Because it wasn't this, and this was really the only part that they like got physical in, and I'm like, what are you actually talking about? I'm gonna take it up with them later and be like, please tell me what you mean.
Yeah. So anyway, Smoke busts in and unloads dual pistols into Mary, and then she gets up and runs out the door. Then Stack's just there dying in his arms, basically.
Yeah,
And also, in the meantime, Cornbread's gone missing, and we get a shot of he's like out taking a piss, and all these eyes just start appearing in the darkness. That's a really cool shot. But also,
yeah.
can you piss with overalls without unbuckling them? Because he's wearing overalls and he's just taking a piss.
Maybe there's a zipper. I mean, he worked in the field, so maybe his clothes were designed for him to be able to use the bathroom easily. I don't know. And maybe he had one side unbuckled. I don't know. But yeah, I didn't think about it. But yeah, he's turned off
I'm
camera.
thinking about the scene that's coming, and when does this door of the room that Stack is in get locked?
Um, my understanding is Slim comes in when
Oh
they're
yeah,
like,
they send
shit's
everyone
happening.
home.
They send everyone outside. Shit's going down. Slim comes in and he closes the door. And that's when Stack actually dies. And Smoke is obviously distraught. And they're basically saying, we have to get rid of his body. And Smoke is like, no. So they cover his body
Yeah.
and they leave. And I don't remember them locking the door, but I guess they
Yeah, I
do.
guess they do, because he starts talking from the other side, and he, like,
Oh,
stabs a
man.
knife through the door, and then Smoke's talking to him, and first he puts his eye through the knife hole, and then he puts his ear up to it, and I'm like, "You're lucky that Stack is doing the, like, I'm gonna convince you vampire routine, not the I'm a murderous monster routine, because you would've just got killed right there twice."
Yeah. But also, he's also lucky that Stack's ultimate goal was to turn him and not to just flat out kill him. So maybe, but he had the mojo bag. So maybe that was it.
Wait,
Yes, you remember? So at the beginning, when Smoke goes to Annie's house, she basically says, "Do you still have the mojo bag that I've given you?" And I
oh,
think it's like
yeah.
it actually ends up being like an amulet or something. And it's supposed to have been protecting him all these years. And I wonder if there's random little parts of the movie where he is wearing it and it continues to protect him. So like things that could have been harming him don't harm him. And so maybe this is one of those parts
Oh, it's
where he
his
does
plot
this
armor necklace.
his plot armor necklace, yeah. His plot armor necklace, yes, there were, see, the thing is, I thought of them as Chekhov's twins. If you introduce twins, you're not gonna have twins by the end of the movie.
Yeah. So, this movie is have you seen From Dusk Till Dawn? So
Yes.
this movie is clearly very inspired by From Dusk Till Dawn,
Yes.
which also contains a set of criminal brothers.
Right.
And in both, I'm like, I'm relieved when the brother dies. And From Dusk Till Dawn, it's because Quentin Tarantino is like a gross, weird creep of a criminal.
Mhm. Right.
And in this one, I'm just like, thank God one of these is a vampire now so I can tell them apart.
But you also knew that it was gonna be the brother who was a little more, like, hot-headed. Like, you knew that was gonna happen. And if it wasn't the
Yeah,
brother if it wasn't the hot-headed one who got turned, then it meant that the hot-headed one was gonna cause something bad to happen to everyone. He was either gonna fuck something up or be killed. Like, you kind of saw that part
I don't
coming.
know. There could have been an arc where the hot-headed one
Survived?
becomes a better person because
Yeah.
he has to now become Smoke and like
Yeah.
help everyone out. That would have been a good arc.
That would have
But
been
nope,
yeah.
we just get the one who's a bit more of an asshole in basically every regard, gets killed and becomes a bit more of an asshole because now he's a vampire. And
Yeah.
I'm always kind of confused about what being a vampire does exactly. And this is always like, especially in Buffy, it's just like, it makes you an asshole, but what is it actually doing?
I mean, it essentially, at least from my perspective, it turns you into someone on the internet who feels like they have no accountability and they say whatever fuck that comes to their mind and they type whatever the hell they want to random ass strangers. Like, that's all it is. It's like when you lose all accountability and you have no obligations and you are invincible, you're completely selfish. You're completely like self motivated. There's no reason for you to have anybody in your good there's no reason to keep yourself in anybody's good graces anymore. So, like, all etiquette is out the window, all social normacy is out the window. You could do whatever you want. So, to me, I think it's absolute freedom. And I think when we see all of these people who turn into vampires and then their personality becomes, okay, I'm an asshole now, that's just, I think it's the representation of how people would behave if they were truly free. At least that's how I've always seen it.
See, my issue with that is there's still like the issue of loyalty, basically, where like I think if people were totally free, they might be like total assholes, but I think they would do it in service to the people they like. And when people become a vampire in most of these stories, they're suddenly like, yeah, fuck my family.
But I mean, isn't that a comment on how people really feel sometimes and that they only take certain actions in their lives to benefit others because they think that's what they're obligated to do or that's what they should do? Or in a random book I read just recently, a promise was used to gaslight the protagonist. And so they thought, I have to do things this way because I promised, right? So I don't know. I think that people I think that people ultimately need real motivation to be altruistic. And the motivation comes in all of the little rewards you get in your everyday life. But once you take all of that away, where's the motivation to stay chill? But I do see what you mean because some of them just like go really fucking hard. And I feel like if I became a vampire, my first order of business would be like, great, I'm gonna go to sleep and I'm just not gonna wake up for as long as I feel like it. And then I'll get to eating because I feel like I'm always like being pushed to do things. And I would just be like, nope, I'm not doing anything anymore. I don't think I need to be violent or eat anyone or ruin lives, but I need some me time. I don't know. Because people at the end of the day, I think your needs are much simpler than the world persuades you
Yeah.
they are. Or I'd drink myself into oblivion and not have to worry about it because my liver just keeps regrowing.
Yeah. And then at this point, Cornbread shows back up and he's just like trying to convince them to let him in. And they're like, the hell do you mean? You've been in and out of here all day long. Why do you suddenly wanting to invite? Something ain't fucking right
Yeah.
here. And Cornbread's just like a big doofus. So he's very poorly trying to convince them. It's like, what we need to do is just all love each other, right?
That was so funny.
He was so funny. I loved this
But they
character.
suspect him, rightfully so.
Yeah, they ain't buying it at all. So at some point, Bo Chow left. Bo Chow's out there and he's saying, Grace, let's go. And they're like, don't you care that Cornbread's like feasting on a guy?
And
And
it's like,
Bo
oh,
Chow's like, he's hungry.
he's just hungry. Oh, okay. So this is where I actually had a question.
Yeah.
Are they so Cornbread feeds on this guy and then he turns. And that feels very familiar because that's like what happens in most vampire lore. But there's also an element of they could just bite them and they turn because it looked like Mary was just bitten on the back or something. So I'm a little bit confused. Are they feeding on them or are they just it is the goal to just turn them? Or is it just the turning like every other story, just a consequence of having to fed on?
I mean, we just see Mary has a big ass, like, bite wound on her back shoulder. We don't know how much they fed on her
I guess that's true.
because we didn't see it.
Right. So, and is it ever established whether or not they can just bite someone and turn them or whether they have to like actually kill them? Because I think everyone who was bitten was killed,
Yeah, I think everyone who turned was fed on.
but was killed too. Because like Perline wasn't really
Yeah,
fed on, but Remick just takes a bite out of her neck. So he kills her. Like she would have died regardless. But because he's the one who bit her, she turns. So I guess I thought there was maybe not enough information given about the process itself, but I could fill in the blanks, this is not that different from other vampire stories in terms of lore.
so at this point, Remick shows back up and he says that they just want Sammy because he's like the chosen musician basically, and he can summon the spirits of Remick's lost community.
Right, because this is harkening back to the beginning, and he is the griot of their community who has the ability to reach in the past through his music, and I guess because they have a hive mind, Remick wants to feed on him and gain that ability.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he also says that the guy that Smoke bought this place from, Hogwood, is the leader of the local clan, and he only sold this place as a trap, and they were gonna come in the morning and clear everyone out and kill him.
Right. Which he knew because he acquired the memories of the first two people who were clan members. So I actually
Yeah.
thought that this was the most tense part of the movie for me because one, Stack is pretty close to being like, all right, let's do it because he sees Smoke is pretty close to being like, all right, let's do it because he sees his brother outside while Remick is saying all this. But just the idea of you were never going to make it in this town, you were never going to accomplish anything is enough of a temptation at the time that it felt like, oh crap, they're going to fall for this. But it also kind of represented like, this is the real evil. This is the real temptation. Someone coming and convincing you that your dream is never going to come true. And you should just stop trying and give up and just, we will take care of you. That's the trap, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, so Smoke's about to go out there and they're like, oh, no, you don't.
And they also threatened to kill Grace's daughter, who we met earlier at the convenience store.
And that sets shit off.
Yeah, but they slam the door for now, and basically they start planning shit. But then Grace essentially just invites them in. Oh, they all start gathering and like singing that song, and there's like dozens of them out there.
Yeah, that goofy song gets scary.
Yeah, and they all arm up, and then Grace invites them in, and then we get our crazy From Dusk Till Dawn action scene, and it's awesome. And
Yeah.
one by one, everyone without plot armor dies.
It was so
I
disheartening.
know.
And it's all gruesome, it's all bloody, and you can't actually tell who's killing whom, by the way. You can't tell, like, if someone is doing well, if they're staking vampires left and right. You just see, like, interaction, someone dies. Interaction, people die, and then sometimes both people die. It was a crazy scene.
From what I could see, they were just basically just getting slaughtered by the vampires.
Well, I saw a bunch of people getting staked too.
Yeah. Well, Stack kills Annie, but before
Right,
she turns, Smoke puts a stake through her heart.
right.
And
But
then
she was staking people too.
yeah, she didn't last too long though.
Yeah,
No one really did. Delta Slim like sacrifices himself, and then Perlene gets bit on the neck, and then it ends up Sammy's out in like a lake with Remick, and Remick's baptizing him.
yeah,
And meanwhile, upstairs in the sawmill, Smoke and Stack are having like an epic brawl.
yeah. And before Sammy runs away, but before he gets very far, we see Remick actually flying.
Oh yeah, yeah, we
Like,
do get to see Remick
that's
fly.
when it's confirmed that he's flying into the distance, and by the time he gets to him, he's transformed. He has these, like, super long fingers with,
Yeah,
like,
he's got
claws at the
Nosferatu
end.
claws.
Yeah, he's got Nosferatu hands, and his face is just like I don't think his face was all that different, but it was, changed into his monster form.
Yeah, it was good. It was like a more subtle version of the normal like Buffy facial transformation thing you see,
Yeah,
like we saw in Blood-Sucking Bastards. This was a nice, like, subtle, like, more horror one, less comedy. But
yeah,
yeah, we see that those scars from the first scene on Sammy's face are from these Nosferatu claws as Remick grabs his face and baptizes him.
mm,
And he starts saying the Lord's Prayer, Sammy does. And then Remick starts saying it. And then all the other vampires start saying it, like basically mocking him. Like, yeah,
yeah,
that's not working in this vampire war.
yeah.
Nice try.
I mean, that generally doesn't work unless you have a crucifix to go with it. So, the
Yeah.
words on their own don't do anything. You need the artifact.
So he's about to kill Sammy. And then, bam, right from the back, Smoke gets him with the stake.
Right. And you get that scene before that where the twins are kind of neck and neck, and then Smoke gets the upper hand, and I couldn't tell who was talking to whom, but someone says, "I'm sorry I couldn't protect you," and the other one says, "You always did."
Yeah,
I think it's Smoke talking to Stack, and he says, "I'm sorry I couldn't protect you because I'm about to kill you."
it is.
Okay, and then Stack says, "You always did," and I don't know if that's him, like I guess that's his, like, human form coming through to say, "This isn't your fault," and then that's the last we see of him, and so we assume, okay, he killed his brother and that was it, which was
Yeah.
weird because you would have thought in a relationship that was so intense like that, you would have seen it happen, but it happened off camera, so
Yeah. So earlier when Annie died, her last words, like right before she got killed, she said, they feel his pain. So at this point, when Remy stakes, we see all the other vampires in the lake are all like stunned and like grabbing their chests. And right at this moment, the sun starts to come
the
up.
sun comes up.
And I was
Yeah.
just thinking, man, Remick, if the sun's about to come up, maybe skip the soliloquy.
Yeah,
He
no
went on
kidding.
so long just with this dramatic monologue to Sammy. It's like, the sun's coming up in like 5 minutes, right? Maybe, yeah,
'Cause he
speed this
thought
up a bit.
he thought he won. He was like, "You're the one I want. I'm about to eat you. Nothing that can be done." He was just, like, power crazy, as vampires do be. He
Yeah,
I don't know, yes, he walked into that, but I didn't think this was outside of the norm for, like, power crazy monster villain at the end. They did this all the time, but I
yeah,
did think it was awesome how he died.
yeah, yeah. So
So, yeah, the
everyone
sun
bursts
comes
into
up.
flames. Everyone's on fire. And then we get a scene where our survivors, Smoke and Sammy, are having their last talk. He tells Sammy to bury the guitar. Oh, we didn't mention he smashed the guitar over Remick's head in that fight.
Oh, yeah.
So that's
That
why it
was,
was just the neck.
yes, that's how he loses piece of the guitar. Also, we didn't say how he died. The sun comes up and they all burst into flames, and he bursts into flames, but he kind of goes through this slow charcoal burning type thing. And then there's like a little eddy in the water, and he swirls up into the sky and goes out in a puff of smoke. Which,
Oh
by the way,
yeah.
now that we've been talking, I have only just realized how thematic smoke is in this movie. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so now we're at the part where they're having their regrouping moment and talking, "Oh my god, what are we gonna do now?"
Yeah, so Smoke tells him to bury the guitar. And again, they're talking about this guitar like it's a guitar and not the neck of a guitar. He's like, I can't. It's
Yeah.
oh, whose guitar was it?
Charlie
Oh
Patton.
yeah, it's Charlie Patton's guitar. He's like, who the hell told you that? He's like, Stack did. Like that lying bastard. That was our daddy's guitar. And it was revealed earlier that Smoke killed their dad because he beat Stack unconscious. So
Right.
he killed his dad and then they gave that guitar to Sammy, and that's how Sammy got started on his blues journey. So we get the scene from the beginning where Sammy bursts into the church, covered in blood, holding the neck of a guitar. And meanwhile, the KKK roll in at the sawmill.
Yeah, but before that happens, you think that I thought the movie was over.
Yes, yes, we
When
got a very like definitive ending where
end.
everything flashes before Smoke's eyes. He thinks of everyone he just lost, and he rips off his plot armor necklace. And it's
Yeah.
like clearly like, okay, roll credits. No?
Yes, but that's
And
not
then
what
the kid,
happens. He
and
gets
then
into his truck, he starts doomsday prepping,
yeah,
he's he's setting things up, and you're like, "I don't know what's about to happen. What is going on here?" And that scene with Sammy in the church is, like, now on pause because Smoke is up to something, and, yeah, then you see the KKK roll in, and I actually didn't even realize that this was a plot point that was gonna be followed up. It never occurred to me. So I was like, "Oh, yeah, that's right. He told them that the KKK was planning to show up." And so Smoke now he knew that that was gonna happen, and he even though obviously he's not gonna keep the damn juke joint, he's still just like, "Y'all ain't coming my fucking house and tearing this place apart." Yeah, crazy.
he also, I think we flashed back in that scene to the part where he told, when he bought the place, he told him, if any of your KKK buddies show up, they ain't leaving. So he had to keep that promise.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
they're planning on clearing this place out. They go to the door, it's locked. They go to another door, it's locked. And they're like, what the fuck? And then they just start getting sniped one by one.
And yeah, Smoke just starts sniping the shit out of him, and they're like, "Oh my god, he's around here. Let's find him." They're shooting at us.
He comes out with like Tommy guns and basically just takes out the whole KKK. And a truck's leaving. He takes out those guys, but one of them gets him in the side.
Yeah, but I'm sorry, the fact that he runs out of bullets and then he pulls a Tommy gun out of the ground that he had pre-buried there was so g so
Yeah. Yeah, the action
I
scenes, I feel like we're underselling them, but both everything from when the vampires charge into the bar, like to this moment, has just been like the best action ever. It's so
Yeah.
good.
Yeah,
It's
it was
so
really good. I
stylish.
wasn't expecting him to have things buried around the property, but it makes that part where he pulls off his necklace very poignant because he basically thinking, "Okay, I'm gonna do this last thing, and then I'm probably gonna go." And
Yeah.
it's very it's a very, like, touching scene.
And it seems like he could have kept it on. It was his plot armor, but he feels like he has to repent for his sins now, essentially. And it's like, nah, I got to do this the old fashioned
Yeah.
way. No,
I mean,
no
yeah,
more
maybe he feels
bulletproof.
guilty when he's thinking about all the people, or maybe he feels like I mean, at one point, Annie tells him, you know, "It's okay if you kill me because I have someone waiting on the other side for me." And then she says, "She's waiting on the other side for you too." And so maybe he's thinking about that he he
Yeah.
has people waiting to be reunited with at the time of his death. And ultimately that's what happened. Well, I mean, that's what we're led to believe happens. As he's dying, he sees the dying of the wound, the stray bullet that he caught. He sees Annie, and she's like nursing the baby that I think died before, and he sees her, and then that guy's voice cuts through.
Yeah.
He's like, "Man, shut the fuck up!" And he shoots.
Yeah, he just shoots the crap out of
It was
the
so,
leader of the
it was so
KKK,
awkward, though,
who's
because
there,
he's
like,
having
begging
this
for his life,
moment
basically.
where and that's when I said earlier, Annie says, "If you put down the smoke, you can hold her." It's
Yeah.
because he asks that dude for a smoke because he's like, "Crap, I got shot, I'm dying. At least I can have a cigarette." And he's like, "Give me a smoke." And he starts smoking the cigarette, and she comes to him, and she's sitting there with the baby, and he's like, "If you put down that smoke, you can hold her." And as he reaches out for the baby, the KKK dude starts talking, and you're like, "Oh god, you're like interrupting the scene. This is so weird." And he shoots the crap out of him, and then he's like, "Okay, as you were."
Mhm.
Yeah, and he puts down the cigarette and takes the baby, and I almost started
Yeah.
crying, honestly.
Yeah. It was interesting that in the previous scene, he was trying to roll a
Yeah.
cigarette and his hands were shaking too bad and he just couldn't do it. But then he
I
killed the
mean,
whole
I there's a
KKK, so
difference
his hands
between
weren't
fine
shaking
motor
that
skills
bad.
and eye-hand coordination or hand-eye coordination or whatever. I don't know. Maybe yeah, maybe the adrenaline will allow you to push through an action
Yeah,
scene, but
I
it won't allow
suppose.
you to roll a cigarette. Maybe. And then we get back to the
Yeah.
church where Sammy's dad is like, "Repent, repent, give up your devil ways." Nothing about that scene changes from the beginning of the movie to the end of the movie. It just transitions to him driving down the road with that guitar neck in his lap.
Yep. And then we get like I would say the
Mhm.
post-credit scene, but it takes place
Like,
like the credits start and
it's
then
like
it
a
happens.
mid-credit
It's like
scene.
yeah. So we get our like fourth ending. And we're in 1992, where an elderly Sammy is played by actual blues legend Buddy Guy, and a still young Stack walks in and explains that Smoke spared him as long as he let Sammy live out his dreams, basically. And
Mhm.
that's it.
Yeah. Okay, so there was a lot to say. I think we got most of it as you were going through the plot, but I really, really liked this. I'm a sucker for Southern Gothic horror in general. Um, I'm also a sucker for Southern Gothic music, which I will say there probably wasn't anything up here, but I just like that whole feel. And this was a very like atmospheric Southern Gothic horror, but I will say that I think it did sacrifice a little bit of story for visual and auditory effects. And that's okay because they were done so excellently. But, we touched upon a couple of the questions and we touched upon a couple of the plot points where we were like, why did this happen or why did that happen? And I think that a lot of those questions are a result of the focus being on the the music scenes and the dancing scenes and the atmosphere and the racial relations and stuff like that. And so, I mean, I think very highly of this movie, and I'm super uh I don't know. I'm very much in awe of how it came out. I was pretty, like, speechless, actually, when I finished. I was like, I wanna write down a lot of things, but I don't even know where to start. It's hard to untangle this stuff, mostly because I was thinking a lot about the history and all the messages, but then, the movie itself was very layered, and so it just made me feel kind of like, I wanna say something, but I really don't have the words for it, and it came out as a bunch of random notes, but
I
yeah.
did like the how much inviting them in came into play, which is like I feel like it kind of went
Yeah.
out of style a little bit after Buffy. Like you didn't really see a lot of that showing up in vampire media. But this movie made a lot of use of it and it did it in some fun ways, especially that cornbread scene was fucking hilarious.
Very funny, yeah. And also Grace. I mean, I did feel like there could have been a little bit more. She invites them all in,
Yeah.
right? But it's a very like kind of underwhelming moment because they're standing around talking. What should we do? How should we approach this? What are we gonna I'm not sure what to do. And also Smoke is still coping with crap, my brother's dead. oh crap, he's one of them. Like he's reeling from things. And Grace is just like, they're about to go kill my daughter. We need to fucking move. And they're like, no, we don't have a plan. And she's like, I have a plan. I'm gonna light them up. Of course, she then only proceeds to light up her husband and
Yeah.
herself, and that's it.
And the
But
sawmill.
oh, right. She sets the whole place on fire.
Oh, yeah, but that was kind of brutal when she set herself on fire, and she's
Yeah.
like, "You just had this big moment, and you're the first to die in this
Yeah.
siege."
And on it, and Lee Jun Lee was a wonderful character. I really liked Grace.
Yeah.
And yeah, so she sets it up to be like, we're gonna do something. We're gonna take these people out. And she's squirming and squirming. And I felt like they can't calm her down because she's freaking out. So why don't they just tell her, like, okay, we need to prepare though. Just give us a minute. Because she's just like, come on in. Like, I invite you in. And it just kind of like, I don't know. There should have been something else going on there. It was a little confusing, and I think maybe that's it, that there's just a lot of shit just unfolds very quickly. But that was probably the only moment I was like, "Wait, what did she just do? Why would she do that?" You get why, but it didn't seem like
Yeah, I was a little confused, but she's, like, feeling the pressure because she doesn't want to give them a chance to go after her daughter.
right,
So she's like, "I don't wanna, like, stay here and prepare while they go kill my daughter." So
right.
and I also like the part where she brings up the smoke, like, "You shot 2 guys just for dicking around in your truck, but they killed your brother and you're just gonna
Yeah,
take
yeah.
it?"
But I mean,
Like, yeah,
that's
good point.
kind of a good point. The guys who were taking his truck were completely defenseless, and he only shot them because he was posturing. He didn't need to shoot those guys, but he knows now that guns aren't
Well,
gonna
maybe she wants to trick him into doing some more posturing.
Yeah, I'm sure she did, but he knows that guns aren't gonna help. He unloaded into Mary, and she got up and walked away. So I think he's very like, I need a
Yeah.
minute because my normal methods of like taking care of things are ineffective right now. Like I don't actually know what to do. And she's like, I know what to do. I'm a Molotov cocktail some bitches. Instead of preparing though. I mean, God. So yeah, I guess it made sense. Oh, okay. So here's a question I had, and I wrote this down. Do we think they needed to be twins? Could they have just been brothers?
Well, yeah, because From Dusk Till Dawn worked,
Okay, so yeah,
so
they didn't need to be twins.
no, I don't think they need to be
Okay,
twins at
so
all.
what purpose did that serve, having them be twins? Aside from the cute Smoke and Stack name, did it serve the movie to have the viewers constantly confused as to who was who for most of the film?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I also don't know, why did they have to look so similar? Why did they have to have the same facial hair and, like, basically dress the
Oh,
same?
I assume that's Michael B. Jordan just having facial hair that didn't change from part to part, scene to scene. In terms of the clothing, I don't
Yeah,
know.
but
Well, one was dressed in red and one was dressed in blue,
yeah,
so that was a difference. And I think that that was supposed to be the difference that helped us tell them apart, but it was hard to tell, unless you followed from the very beginning when they're standing in front of that car. One of them says, "I'm Smoke, I'm Stack," and then you just keep that in your mind the whole movie, which I didn't.
yeah, I
There's
didn't.
no other real time except as the movie unfolds, you just kind of figure out who's whom. But I did, like I said, I did just notice how a lot of these themes in the movie had to do with smoke. And so in the end, I think if I watched this again, I would absolutely know who was who. The first run
Oh,
through,
yeah, well,
it was challenging. But doing this again, it would be easier.
yeah, it's only a problem on your first go, because after you know which one's gonna become a vampire, and you're like, "Oh, the one who's, like, being a dick throughout the whole movie, and
Yeah.
he's always out for himself, and is always just kind of, like, one of them's a little more of a criminal, and the other's got the, like, good-hearted moments, like, Smoke, teaches this little girl to bargain with him about
Mm,
guarding his
right.
truck,
Yeah, you
and
you
you have this,
can
like, cute little moment, and then Stack's, like,
all business.
usually just trying to get
All
money
business,
or get
yeah, okay.
yeah.
Okay. Did you have anything else you wanted to add? Because I think that was the only other thing I had, was thinking about whether or not they absolutely needed to be twins, and I think I agree with you, they didn't.
Yeah, I think he probably just thought it would be fun to have Michael B. Jordan do
Yeah,
dual
that's
roles.
what I was talking about this with someone else, and they were like, "I think it was just an acting challenge for Michael B. Jordan." I could see that, and because I know we know how M Michael B. Jordan and Ryan Coogler are friends. Michael B. Jordan's in basically every movie he's ever made. He probably was like,
Yeah.
just let me do both parts, man." And he was like, "Okay, that could work." I wonder if it was like that and it wasn't really,
Yeah.
there wasn't really a need, but it was more like, "Hey, what if we did it this way?"
Yeah.
I'd be interested to know if they ever had that conversation. But anyway, um, okay, so I what do you think about your rating?
I think it's like a 4.5.
Yeah, I landed there too. I originally thought I wanna give it a 4 because I did have some, I had a couple of questions, um, but I thought the racial allegory was well done, if maybe a little bit thin for me, but overall, everything else about the movie was just stunning, so I'm also gonna say 4.5. Yeah.
I think my least favorite part is just that we spend like the whole first hour introducing all these characters and then they all die in like two
Yeah, that
minutes.
was disappointing because there's so much, like, richness to the characters, and there's depth to all the characters, and all of the actors brought so much, like, life to each of these characters, and
Yeah.
it did feel a little bit like no, it wasn't a little bit, it was a lot. It felt very tragic that they all died, and the scene where Smoke is
Yeah.
sitting on the ground, and they're flashing through his mind, that was, like, heartbreaking watching the characters that we had just seen, and now we know, dead. He dead too. They're all dead. It was sad. It was
Yeah.
so sad, and you're like, "What is he going to do? Is this the end of the movie?" No, that was ending number 1.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the other thing is I don't know if it needed like four
Yeah.
endings. Any of those like endings might have worked. Didn't need
Yeah,
all of
there could
them.
have been
I
a
mean, like the action scene was cool, but it felt like it was a definitive ending right
yeah.
before that.
There could have been a part where he says something like, "You go home, I have something to do." Because I don't think he says that. He's just like, "You go home." And you think he's gonna go his separate ways, but he has a plan, and yeah, there's no indication that he's gonna follow this plan. You don't know has a plan until you see the Tommy gun buried under the ground. But anyway, okay. Well, I'm really happy that this is our finale for the month. I think this is a great ending.
So having watched this, how are we feeling about Ryan Coogler doing our X-Files reboot?
I will say one of the things about X-Files that has always frustrated me is and I'm probably not alone in this, is the fact that Vince Carter is the master of almost
Chris
telling
Carter.
you what's happening, but not quite. And so there's just a little bit of like you have to fill in what really happened.
Yeah.
And that has always frustrated me about X-Files because sometimes it worked really well, but then sometimes you were just like, "Okay, so how did this go? Tell me? And the smoking man's not dead. How?" Like, so you're just like left with a lot of questions. And I think that Ryan Coogler seems like he would be better at answering questions based on
See, I
this,
don't
because I think that there was some clarity here that I wouldn't have expected from, if this was directed by Vince Carter.
Chris Carter.
Chris Carter. Who's the other one? Wait, I said Vince Carter. It's
Vince
Vince something.
Gillian.
Vince
But yeah,
Gillian,
I
thank
don't
you.
know if I actually like that X-Files is a little incoherent. I kind of like that I have to take the role of one of the lone gunmen and like get my red yard out and make it make sense.
Yeah, I get that. And I definitely had episodes where I was like, "Oh, this is so great," because the answer could be anywhere, right? And there was definitely some satisfaction in knowing that wink, wink, nudge, nudge, you really know what happened, even though Scully won't admit it and Mulder can't prove it. Like, there was a little bit of satisfaction with that for sure. But then there were other points where you were like, "Wait, so Scully's reasonable explanation might actually make sense here. So are you telling me that it's not real?" And so then you're just like, "Ah,
Yeah, I
dang it."
like
But
that.
I think this I think that he would do a good job. Is he rebooting the entire
So
series?
I think it's just going to be like a soft reboot. I heard he has had talks with Gillian Anderson, so she might like
Mm,
have a cameo or something. I'm
okay.
hoping they'll at least get like Mulder and Scully cameos, and I kind of feel like I don't really want it to be called the X-Files, or at least not just the X-Files. I feel like it's such its own thing. But, like,
Yeah.
the idea of him doing something like The X-Files, I think it would be really well done and cool.
Yeah. Well, when you say it's a soft reboot, now my mind's going in a different direction because I was thinking he was just gonna have something with Michael B. Jordan as Mulder.
Oh,
So
no, he's
maybe that's not what the project is.
oh, no, you can't recast Mulder and Scully, that would be straight blasphemy.
They recasted the Charm Sisters and they're recasting Buffy.
Mm,
Nothing is sacred.
I don't think they're recasting Buffy.
They
I'm
are.
pretty
I'm
sure
very sure
she's
they're
returning as herself, and they're passing the torch.
okay. All right. Maybe I misabsorbed that information. But anyway, what are we doing next week?
Okay, next week we're doing Him from 2025.
Ah, I'm so excited. And if anybody knows me on Letterboxd, I have just demolished the internet for this. Read it and then read it and then come and listen to our episode. I'm
Read it
very
and
excited.
weep.
Read and weep because I'm talking about you. But also don't hate me. All right. Well, I'm very excited. And until next time.
Until next time.
Horror Coast to Coast is a movie review podcast featuring strong language, horror film spoilers, and discussions of violence, gore, and disturbing subject matter. Listener discretion is advised. This podcast is licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Share Alike 4.0 International License. For additional information and other media content, visit theferalthread.com. Thanks for listening. Until next week.